Welcome to the New Author Podcast, a weekly podcast diary starring Jerry Evanoff and Rich Kacy. Join them weekly as they talk about writing, publishing, and marketing their books. And now, here are your hosts.
Hello and welcome to the New Author Podcast. Today is Sunday, March 16th, 2025. This is episode number 302. And with me, my name is Jerry Evanoff, and with me is Rich Kacy. Rich, how are you?
I'm doing well, but as that intro was playing, I was thinking to myself, I got to find my kazoo and play along with it.
Oh, man. I would love to see us start doing like live, in play-alongs with it. I'd get my keyboard out and make a little piano riff. I would like that.
You still have that drum kit, or you could play
No,
along
I
with the
don't.
beat?
I actually sold that to a friend of mine. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Who actually listens to this podcast. So kind of interesting. How are you?
Well, maybe he can come on and play.
He might actually do that. Yeah. How was your week?
It's been a good week. It's been kind of boring. Just kind of a normal run-of-the-mill week. Nothing super exciting happened. We didn't even get any of that, all those tornadoes that moved through the south, which is good. I mean, we didn't need that at all. So,
yeah, mine's the same. Just kind of boring. It was just a week. I wrote when I said I was going to write and accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, but nothing exciting happened. It was just a week. So,
well, I can't quite go that far. I didn't quite accomplish what I hoped to accomplish.
Nice.
But I always hope to accomplish too much. So
yeah. All right. Well, let me jump into my stats here. My goal for this week was 6,000 words, and that's based on the math. I had 3 writing sessions that were at work during my lunch breaks. That's 1,000 words, and I had 2 that were on the weekend or whatever, where I can write longer than the 45 minutes to an hour that I get, and that's 1,500. And so 6,000 was the goal, and I ended up beating it. For the week, book 6 is up 6,549 words, so I beat it by 549, and that's to 26,363 now for that first draft. It's through about halfway through chapter 18. I have 22 chapters plotted. So as of now, I have 19, 20, 21, 22. And then right in the middle, I have like 12 and 13 or 13 and 14, something like that. So I have 6.5 chapters left to go for that first draft to be finished. And then I'm on to the next one. My total for the year is now up to 35,367. And that was on the way to the 145,000 word goal that I set for the year. That included books 6, 7, 8, or 6, 8, 9, and then one more prequel. My words per hour did drop this past week, which again, once I start writing every day, it's going to kind of, what did I say? Something to the mean. What's that word? Something to the mean.
Reversion to the mean.
Thank you. Revert to the mean. That's kind of what happens there. I had a great New Year's Day at like 1,400 for an hour, and it's just slowly gone downhill ever since then. But I'm at 1,212 per hour right now in terms of words per hour.
Well, I was editing this week, so I got no new words. I was plugging away at romance number 1, and I made through, I think, 4 chapters total. I'm down 888 words of all possible numbers that you would get, perfect 3 8s.
Nice.
To 61,667 on that particular story. So it's coming along. It's coming along slower than I would like, but that's always the case, especially when I edit. Editing I don't like as much. I know you like editing. I like first drafting. So it's kind of a struggle.
Yeah, we're exactly
it's kind of a
struggle.
struggle.
We need to write a book. We need to write a co-author in a book. You write the first draft, and I'll do the editing.
I was listening to Johnny B. Truant sometime during the week, and that's basically we need to do the Sean Platt Johnny B. Truant thing, and I'll do the first draft. You can do all the cleanup.
Yeah, you can pass it on to me and never have to worry about it again.
That's right.
Great. It's actually not a terrible idea, but anyway.
Well, you've always said that you can never write with somebody because you're too much of a control freak.
It's so hard. I had a guy, the boss's boss earlier this week stopped over to my cubicle, and he said, hey, who's going to do this part? And they said, oh, this other guy. And I said, well, where's it going to get done? And they go, what's going to get done inside your code base? And I was like, oh, I have trouble sharing code. So I think just in life, I'm probably a bit of a control freak with my stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. On the other hand, if I did the first draft and just handed it off to you and never wanted to see it again, then you would have total control. So
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
I didn't do any posting on Blue Sky at all, or maybe once or twice during the week. So I only picked up 4 followers. I'm now sitting at 299, just hovering right below 300 still. I don't know if I'm ever going to get around to consistently posting. I just have a real hard time generating enthusiasm to do that.
It feels like a job.
Yeah, well, sometimes it strikes me at like, oh, I want to say this and this and this, and then most of the time not, because it's
Yeah.
not real people I'm talking to. So, but
Yeah.
I mean, I consider it to be a fairly good week. Got a lot done at work, but with work stuff, got a lot of stuff, home stuff done with the gardening. So yeah, overall, it was a pretty good life week.
I have a plot maybe later on for you that if you want to write the first draft and pass it on to me, I'd be happy to do it. It's a romance.
Okay.
I sat with ChatGPT for like 2 hours last night, just plotting. I hadn't done that in a while, and I just plotted a whole story.
Oh, nice.
It's so cheesy, hallmarky, just terrible. But I'll maybe I don't know if I had it in the outline. So if I don't, I'll talk about it when I get to Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the romance readers like. They like all those tropes. And we call it cheesy. They call it tropes.
At one point, I said to ChatGPT, I want all of the cliches and tropes that the Hallmark movie has in this thing.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. So good. Okay. Maybe here, I wonder what I'll do. I'll pull it up here. Maybe I'll talk about it later. Okay. So getting to my week, Monday, I was in the office, and then at lunch, I worked on editing the first scene of chapter 9 of book 6. This is the scene that I was reading to my writers club later on in the week. It was kind of an emotional scene. I actually hadn't intended it to be as emotional as it was, but on Monday when I was editing, I added about 500 words because I added a whole piece to the conversation that I hadn't expected to add. So real quick, in the story, a woman's husband gets murdered, and a lot of people think she did it, so no one's really sympathetic for her. But my main character, Sam, his girlfriend, Danny, she had her husband die, about a year before she met Sam, and she went through it. So she felt sympathy toward her. So right in the middle of this scene, it's kind of a sweet scene. Danny kind of recounts how she felt when her husband died to Sam, something they had never really had that deep of a conversation about it. And I tried to put as much emotion into it as I could, having never actually had a husband die. I don't know what that feels like. I guess it's one of those write what you know things. I guess I don't know that. So I think I did pretty well, and I really wanted to edit it and get it to the Writers Club. I usually read scenes to the Writers Club that I think are tension scenes, just to make sure that that's coming across. So this is the first time that I read kind of an emotional scene, and I'll talk about their response to it when I get to Thursday.
What's interesting, I know you're going to talk about it when you get to Thursday, but what's interesting is I did have my book club this past week, and the book we read was called The Jet Setters, and the main protagonist in there was a 70-something-year-old woman. And as I was reading that book, I'm pushing that age. I'm 66. I was thinking to myself, this just doesn't sound like the way a 70-some-year-old woman would think or act. And I was thinking to myself, maybe it's just me because male. I'm just not in touch with the kind of emotions and stuff that they would have. And I looked at the author. She's much younger than that age. She's probably in her 50s, would be my guess, 40s or 50s. And so when I got to the book club, I had never met all the members. I met all the members, and they were all older than me. Probably
Wow.
my age or older.
Okay.
And I just flat out asked them, did the way this character acted and talked and emoted, did it seem real to you? And to a person, they said, nope, not at all.
Nice.
Yeah. So I just figured, well, the woman just wasn't old enough yet to realize how an older woman thought. So
right.
So yeah, when you get that sinking feeling that you might not be telling it exactly the way it is, you probably need to pass it off to somebody to look at.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, speaking of that, I did it because I wanted feedback from the Writers Club, and I don't think any of them in there. I mean, Dan, I think he's in his 70s. He's probably in his late 70s. He's divorced. I don't think he's lost a wife, but so I don't know what kind of opinion I can get from him, but I'm trying to find something here that I found. But the feedback they gave me was pretty amazing. And he said, not he, so Tim Grawl from A Story Grid, who I'm a huge fan of, has been tweeting like crazy the last week or so. And I mean, he's just tweeting every piece of advice he's ever given or ever heard. I can't find his tweet either. It's one that I actually disagree. I don't disagree with much of his stuff, but this is one that I actually disagree with. And let me just see if I can search where he said, no, it's not here. He basically said, if you want If you want opinions like, that just didn't work for me, join a writer's group. But if you want like legit opinions, then, you should pay for, a developmental editor or something like that. And I kind of disagree with that, because even though the people in my writer's group, the people that were there this past week have published a total of 0 books. I'm beating them 5-0. And that's everybody else combined. But yet their opinions, they're readers. Like, they've been reading their whole life. They understand like when plots work and when they don't. I'm not expecting them to give me like this developmental advice that I would pay, $500-$600 to an editor to give me, but I am expecting them to give me feedback as a reader and just what they think.
Right.
And
when you get feedback from a developmental editor, you're getting two kinds. You're getting hopefully an expert's look at the structure and how things are laid out and whether it makes sense, whether it works given the genre and stuff like that. But then you're also getting a lot of personal opinion about what they what hit them right, what hit them wrong. Thing about a writer's group or even a reader's book club group is that you're getting a response of more than just one reader. You're getting and you can see if there's uniform, the opinion is relatively uniform that this thing is great, this thing is not because X, Y, and Z. Then I think you can go with that. You don't need a developmental editor necessarily.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was this month or last month, but somebody else was reading, and I didn't like the way that they did something, and I brought it up, and everybody else disagreed with me. And I actually said, listen, everybody else disagrees with me, so they're probably right and I'm probably wrong in this case. Because again, go with the group. It's the same thing they say about reading your reviews. Don't worry about a negative review, but if you get a whole bunch of reviews that are kind of saying the same thing, then maybe that's something you pay attention to. So.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, so it was nice. It was nice in that writers club, and again, I'll get to it. There's not much to get to. They liked it, and I don't even know if I have any more details on that in the outline. I don't really remember it. So, but yeah, that happened. So then in the evening, I literally did nothing. Real quick before I get to that, I didn't expect to add in this emotional moment from her, but I know in the next book I'm going to put her in some danger. So I want the reader to kind of feel for her a little bit. That way, when I put her in some danger, it means a little more. But I told him the same thing that I said to you on this podcast last week. The obvious choice in my head is she's the one who dies in book 8 from the serial killer. But I can't do it. Like, I can't kill off the love interest. It will hurt me too much. It'll make me sad. The other option is the mentor, and he's the cop that Sam has kind of become his father. He's let him get into some investigations with him early on, kind of taught him the ropes without actually saying, I'm teaching you how to do this. And so he's the other option. And I think I'm going to kill him off. That'll kind of hurt me a little bit too, but I believe I'm probably going to kill him off in book 8. We'll see. But the love interest is up there in the top 2 of options.
You could always kind of look around for a dog or a child to kill, and that would
exactly. I could never do that either. The whole reason I started writing was I was reading I'm Number 4, the series, and there's 23 books in that. So there's a novel, and then there's like 3 novellas, and then a novel and 3 novellas. Well, in novel number 6, so we're like 20 books into this thing. Spoiler alert. I'll wait for you to mute if you want to. He kills off the love interest, and it annoyed me so much. I just said out loud, I can write better than this. That's literally what got me writing my first book, was that moment. I don't think I want to do that.
Yeah,
it annoyed me that much. Why would I want to do it? So anyway. So in the evening Monday, not much of anything. That's going to be a theme as we get through this thing. Tuesday, I was in the office again. And at lunch this time, I went back to chapter 13, continued working on it. I finished it, and then I wrote all of chapter 14. It was a total of 1,189 words in about 50 minutes, which was nice. After, where are we at here? Okay, yeah. So this is kind of an interesting thing here. Well, it was interesting to me. So after lunch, I had a couple of meetings, and then after, it was probably like 2:30, 3 o'clock, I listened to the Indie Writers Club while I was working from the previous Friday, and he finally talked about, James Blatch finally talked about what he did when he used Facebook ads to build his list. And it turns out he spent about a year, he spent about £1,000, and got about 600 followers around the time of his release, which is really good because these are people who literally, these aren't freebie seekers. They just signed up. They didn't get anything in return. They literally just signed up with the idea of that book will be out soon. And when it comes out, maybe I'll buy it or maybe I won't. I don't think he got many sales from it, but he did say he had prepared himself to lose money, which makes sense to me because you're not getting anything out of it. And you're probably spending a lot more than you're going to make from that 600 people. And I really want to do something like this to help build a list. I have my novella that I need to edit and get out there on the book funnel, but that's going to get me thousands and thousands of people just looking for free. It's a very small number. Now it's a lot cheaper than doing Facebook ads. It's $150 for book funnel for a year, or I could spend, $1,000 over 10 to 12 months trying to get, Facebook ads to get me 500 subscribers that may or may not buy my book. So I listened to it, I thought about it, and then I realized my situation was a little bit different than his. In my situation, I have one book out already that's been out for 2 years that I have not advertised. I've done nothing with. It hasn't sold anything because I've done nothing with it. It probably does not look great in the Amazon algorithm right now. And my thought is, what do I do when I try to do this newsletter Facebook ad push? Am I just trying to push book one? Am I saying in the newsletter, in the Facebook ad, hey, book two will be out, subscribe now and get a deep, I have no idea what to do with this ad. I've thought about this for a while. So I decided that I'm a fan of James Blash. I was a self-publishing show early Patreon person. I bought the ads for Author's Course. I bought the landing page. What's it called? The landing thing. Something landing.
They changed the name of it.
Yeah, so I was a
Launchpad, right?
So I bought it before it was even Launchpad. I've listened to all of his podcasts. I'm a fan of his. If anybody can email him for advice, it's me. So I put together thoughts on what I wanted to do, and then I didn't actually email him. In the evening, I really just didn't do much of anything at all. Again, you're going to notice a pattern there. Wednesday, I worked from home. At lunch, I went across the street to the library to begin working on chapter 15. And once I started writing, I went for about 50 minutes straight without stopping. And by the time I was done, I had 1,449 words in 50 minutes. It was pretty cool. I stopped because I looked at the clock and went, oh, I wonder how many words I have. And it was that many, 1,449. I did not expect that at all. But it's just, I was in one of those moods where I knew what I was going to write. I just kept going and going and going, which was nice. And then in the evening, I put a bookshelf together. Now this bookshelf, Rich, it had 11 pieces, 2 sides, 5 floors, 5 shelves, the top shelf being the top of the bookshelf, and then 4 of those real thin pieces of wood that go along the back to give you a back to it. I actually put 4 of them on incorrectly. 2 of them I put on backwards, and 2 of them I just put in the wrong place. And then in the end, I only corrected 2 of them. 1 that I put on backwards and 1 that I put in the wrong place. And then I actually had a whole bunch of extra screws left over because there were no holes in some of the spots because I put pieces on backwards.
This is why you're a coder and not a carpenter.
Yeah, this is why I actually write code and don't build things for a living. My dad would not be proud of me. He's a woodworker, like that, big time. Half the stuff in my house, my sister's house, my mom and dad's house, he built all of it, and I can't even put a bookshelf together. Had some dinner, and then I actually sat down and grabbed my laptop and wrote the email to James Blash. So I did do it. I just did it. It's about 36 hours after I thought about it. I worry with emails like this because it was a long email. Because I wanted to, first off, let him know, hey, I'm a fan. And I did that with a few sentences. And then I had to let him know what my situation was. And I have routinely said to people at work and at my old job than my new job, listen, if you send me an email that's like 6 paragraphs, I'm going to read the first paragraph and just stop. That's just too many words for me to have to read an email, which is so terrible. But it's what I do. So now I'm worried. I was worried, okay, if I send this to him, is he going to read it? What do I do here? But I just wrote it. I wrote it exactly what I thought it should be. I edited it myself. I used Grammarly, make sure I didn't misspell anything. I did some research to make sure that I said Launchpad and not landing, whatever, like I did a few minutes ago. So I made sure everything's right. And then I just hit send and I just closed my laptop for fear that it would bounce back or he would respond immediately with, you're an idiot, why are you emailing me? I just closed my laptop. So now the question is, will he reply? There's a tease for you. Yeah. Thursday, I was in the office and I had my writer's club in the evening. So I had to leave right at 4, which means I don't get much time to write. I only get about 40 minutes after I eat. I ended up writing 971 words in chapter 16, which actually turned out to be most of the chapter. Went really well on this day. Considering I only had 40 minutes, that I was able to get almost 1,000 words. And I don't really want to up my estimate for my lunch breaks to be over 1,000. I like keeping that at 1,000 when I do the math. But most days, if I write for 60 minutes, I'm going to get more than 1,000 words. Friday, I worked from home, worked all day. I had a dentist appointment in the morning. It took about 45 minutes. And then I had to basically just work through lunch. So no writing, work through lunch to make up the time for being gone earlier in the morning. In the evening, I played my football game. I made some dinner and just went to bed. Saturday, I ended up not going to Chick-fil-A on Saturday
Mm.
in the morning. Instead, I kind of sat around for an hour doing a few things online. I did restore my YouTube TV, which I said I wasn't going to restore until July, but I really like having cable. I'm old. I just like I'm not a kid. I just like having the guide that I can go through, and I like having the sports stuff that I can look at
Right.
on like CBS Sports and Fox Sports One or whatever those channels are that no one watches. So I ended up doing it, and I really did it because the college basketball tournament's next week, and a lot of those are, CBS has some of those, but the other three channels are all channels I don't get, so I'll want to have that on. And then I spent about an hour talking with ChatGPT about an upcoming fantasy baseball auction that I have. And this is really cool. I took the last two auctions that we've had and I pasted them into Excel, one in each, a tab called 2024 and a tab called 2023. We had 14 teams both times, most of the same people. I put the standings in there and I basically went into ChatGPT. I went into the deep research section and I said, I want you to analyze this. I want you to look for patterns. I want you to look for trends among the owners, trends among the amounts spent on different positions. And I want you to give me everything you can. And then I want you to give me a strategy for when I go into the office myself, or when I go into the draft, the auction myself next Wednesday night that I can use to draft the best team. And it took about a half an hour of just analyzing. And you can see off to the side, it'll say, analyzing this, using Python to analyze this, analyzing this. And it gives you everything
Wow.
that it does. It was really cool. And the results that
Yeah.
it gave me, really cool. I was so
Yeah.
impressed with like what it gave me a strategy because it understood what fantasy football auctions were. I gave it my scoring system and all that good stuff. And it was fantastic. Like I loved it. It was so much
Oh,
fun.
nice.
And
Yeah.
then on my way to write, I ended up going to Buffalo Wild Wings that afternoon. So on my way to write, the guy who runs the league sent me an email and saying we're switching from an auction to a draft. So that I mean
Okay.
that legit happened. It was literally less than a half an hour after I finished up. He did that, which I thought was
I saw you were using ChatGPT. We're going to change it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't tell him either. I was thinking about telling him, but I didn't tell him because I think we're going to switch back to an auction next year. But it just made me laugh that I did all that work, and all that work was kind of fun because I got to see what ChatGPT could do with all the different numbers. But in the
Right.
end, I'm actually not using it, which is weird. So I went to Buffalo Wild Wings and started working on chapter 16, and I finished it, added a little bit to the end of it, and then I started and finished chapter 17 overall. 1,378 words in about 90 minutes, which is considerably less than my words per hour, and it's less than the 1,500 I generally get on a Saturday. But it's okay. I wanted to start and finish chapter 17, which I was able to do. And at this point now, I'm only, I think, 7.5 chapters from being finished. After I got done, I did some cleaning. I have a fantasy baseball slow draft that started, which is so exciting. I love doing those. Basically, it's all a bunch of friends. We have a Google document. And when it's your turn to pick, and you happen to be there, you just type you type the guy in that you're drafting, and then it goes on to some no timers, none of that stuff. It's just 10 people that we're just drafting, and it takes about a week and a half to do. It's a good time. And then I played some of my football game in the evening, and then did nothing at night. Sunday, this morning, I was off to Panera. We started to get all those different tornado warnings and thunderstorm warnings, but it really did not hit us. I mean, we had a lot of wind. If you watch my video that I posted today, me playing my football game, I had to stop 4 or 5 times while I was playing because right over here is a window, and I just kept seeing leaves in a circular motion flying up off the ground because it was so windy. And I would be like, that wasn't a tornado, right? And I would walk outside and check. No, that wasn't. Okay, we're good. And so then afterward, I went to the grocery store, cleaned out my fridge, took out my garbage, did my dishes, like all the chores I like to do. Then I watched about 3 hours of the golf tournament that was on that ended in a tie. The tiebreaker, they're going to play 3 holes tomorrow for the tiebreaker, and now we're podcasting. So, overall, beat my word count goal. I'm down to 6.5 chapters to go. And if you're wondering if James Plash replied to me, no, he has not replied to me yet. I don't expect him to. I know he's super busy, and I'm sure he gets lots of emails every day. It would be nice if he did, but if he does not, I hold him no ill will. I only hold him ill will if he emails me back and calls me an idiot.
Well, I got 2 things. Number 1, if you have to ask whether it was a tornado or not, it wasn't.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
yes.
Yeah.
And number 2, did you join his Discord for his new?
I did not. No.
If you drop that same email into the Discord, I bet you would get responses, maybe from James Blatch, but certainly from a lot of the other people, maybe from Claire. It's because it is pretty active, or it has been in the past.
Yeah. I have this thing about Discord that I don't know why I don't like it. I
I
just
don't like it
don't
either.
like it. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
don't
why.
like it either.
Yeah.
It's not as intuitive to me as some of
Yes.
the, and which is kind of funny because it's almost exactly like the old chat rooms
Yeah.
used to
Yep.
be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know why.
I feel like it's just like being in a. Imagine if Facebook wasn't like posting messages on a wall, but instead a giant chat. That's kind
Yeah,
of what I feel like it is. And I don't want to be like when my phone beeps because somebody texts me, I feel like that I have to get back to them immediately. If I get an email, I got to
right.
check it immediately. Well, I don't want another thing when messages pop up that I have to just go to immediately and check them out. I'm already,
Yeah,
kind of tied to these things already. I don't want another thing.
right.
So that's
You just
real.
have to,
That's really what it is for me.
you have to turn the notifications off, which is what I did. So I never
Yeah.
know unless I literally go into the Discord
Right.
whether anything's going
Right.
on or not. Well, my week Monday started off with nothing writing related at all. I did a bunch of work on my book club, including some graphic design for flyers and getting ready for the next couple of meetings. Getting them posted in the library's online calendar, and also getting them sent off for the actual magazine that the library prints each month. And then I ordered books for the group to pick up when we do have the meetings. And and it was kind of a busy day at the library as well, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to mess around. After dinner, when I came home, I did spend a couple of hours in the evening sawing up wood for a chicken cage, because the little chicks that my wife bought a couple of weeks ago have turned into little demon teenager chickens. And they need to start going out part of the day when it's warm enough so they can get used to the outdoors, because they got to get out of the spare bathtub. They're just starting to make a lot of noise, a lot of mess in there. So that's what I did then. Tuesday, I was off work until noon, so I milled the wood that I cut the night before and began to assemble the cage. It's about 6 foot long and about 2.5 feet on each side if you look at it in cross section. Once I did go to work, I spent my downtime running a fairly elaborate set of prompts in Claude Sonnet 3.5 to generate a very detailed developmental analysis of this romance that I'm editing on. Now, I know I've done this before, not in as much detail, though. In fact, compared to the last one was like kindergarten compared to high school with this, because I set it up and went through a series of prompts that I had found in one of the classes that Future Fiction Academy has. And it generates some very specific criticisms, and even more importantly, some very specific ways on how to improve on the story and to address the criticisms. I think when I was all done, I had something like 20 pages of
Wow.
suggestions that I had to deal with. So that is what's going to keep me busy over the next couple of weeks as I go finishing editing this story. It's not quite what you would get from a real human developmental editor, but I think it's going to help on this current rewrite. And then when I'm all done with it, then I'm going to have to kind of make a judgment call on whether or not I think it needs to actually be seen by a developmental editor or not, or if I can just find maybe a couple of alpha readers who read romance to take a look at it and see what their response would be. Wednesday, I spent the entire day at work preparing for the class I was going to teach the next day, which was a kind of deep dive into our digital media library at the office, or at the library. I did do another review of the Jet Setters because the book club was going to be on Thursday as well. I did have a bit of time at the end of the day to review the development edit that I had generated the day before, but I didn't really get to do anything with that. Thursday, this is usually the day when the week starts to drag for me, especially when I have to work 7 days in a row, which I did this past week. I was kind of low on biorhythms, but after about my 5th cup of coffee, I kind of finally got started. And I did manage to work my way through editing a chapter during my lunch hour. Then the entire afternoon was taken up with working or doing the class that I was teaching. And then in the early evening from 6 till 7:30 is when I had the book club meeting, which was kind of nice. As I mentioned to you, I think off air, it's a good group of ladies. About 7 of us were there. They're all in their 70s. They've read a lot of books. They've got some pretty distinct ideas on what's good and what's not, and aren't afraid to voice those opinions. So I think it's going to be a good group going through the year, especially as they get more used to me. And because it's been all women in the group before. So you could tell they were kind of feeling me out and kind of looking at me side-eyed about, how they were going to interact with me.
So, are you done with that book and you're on to the next one now?
Yes.
Okay.
We just get together for basically an hour and a half to 2 hours once a month and discuss the book for the month.
Okay.
The next one is going to be an interesting book because it was published back in 2017. It's basically Holocaust based.
Okay.
It's called The Nightingale, but it's risen back to the very top of the charts again because the publisher, and it's a trad publisher, released one of these very fancy special editions, hardcover with the sprayed edges and the gold foil and all that kind of stuff. And it's just rocketed it right back up the charts. So it'll be interesting to see what it's like. It's not generally the kind of book I would choose to read, but we'll see. We'll see what it's like. Once I got home on Thursday, I had to move all the plants that I had on the driveway that I'd already planted up in the grow bags and the pots into my shed because they were predicting hurricane force winds and 2-inch hail for Friday and Saturday. When I got that done, I did some more work, a little bit of work on the chicken enclosure, and got to bed really late on Thursday because I didn't get home until it was like almost 8 o'clock. Friday, I pushed through another chapter edit during the day and finally got my butt to go across the street. And this is literally across the street, like 2 blocks away from the library. I've been at the library for a year, and I haven't made that walk over there to sign up for the gym. That's because I still had in the back of my head, I'll be able to find a way to work the gym over by my house into my schedule. I haven't, and I'm turning into a stiff old man, so I decided I gotta go sign up for something. And it actually turns out it's not really a gym per se like I have been to before. It's actually a quote-unquote athletic club where you have memberships and stuff, like long-term memberships. So, but it wasn't horribly expensive. It was like $700 for the year, and maybe it'll keep me from going to an early grave. So I did sign up for that. That done, I dug around on the Play Store for my Android phone to try to find an app that could help me plan workouts. The old one that I had, which was called Active Tracks, I couldn't get to work anymore. I think you have a membership at a YMCA gym in order to get that to work, which is the last one I had and used it at. But I did come across something called Boost Camp, which I really like because it generates or has a bunch of workouts supposedly put together by pro trainers, and they actually have a bunch of them available on the free plan, which is what I'm starting off with. So we'll go ahead. We'll see what it does. I've decided that I'm going to treat myself as a beginner to the gym, although I'm not really not. I'm going to spend 12 weeks doing flexibility and speed work and stuff like that, and hold off on doing any of the weights and stuff until I get my my mojo back, I guess, a little bit. I will find out. I put down here in the outline that I'll start on the gym on Monday, but actually I'm going to start on Tuesday because Monday I have a day off.
Nice. Already pushing it out a day. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. I hope that doesn't become a trend. Saturday, I was even more lazy than normal. I only managed to get half a chapter edited during the workday. After dinner at night, I did start a new book called The Glamour by Christopher Priest. It's an interesting book. It was published in 1984, and it's regarded now as one of the best philosophical science fiction stories ever written, which is kind of a niche in science fiction that's considered a little bit more highbrow, a little more intellectual, kind of literary science fiction almost. The other strong contender for this title is one you've probably heard of, which is A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess, and mainly because Stanley Kubrick made a film out of it. At this moment, I'm about a half because I read a bunch today, and to be honest, I just now have gotten a glimmer of what might be going on in this thing. The protagonist is an amnesiac who got caught up in a IRA bombing in the UK and lost most of his memory, and we're slowly getting to figure out what was going on with him during the time that he had lost his memory. Sunday, today, even though I worked today, I decided I was just going to play hooky for the first couple hours and go to church. Being Lent and all, I figured, I should probably do that. And I also had a few hours of administrative leave banked that I was going to lose by the end of the month if I didn't take it. So I did that. Didn't get into work till about 11:45. When I did get in, I finished editing the chapter I started yesterday, then continued reading The Glamour in between helping patrons with their problems. And now we're recording, and afterwards I'll probably continue reading until bedtime. So overall, it's not a lot of progress really on the writing front. I did push through a number of chapters, and there was some progress, so I can't really complain.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we both just had kind of like, just dull, boring weeks that just happened, and now we're on to the next one. Yeah. Okay.
Right. And on my running list of future things to do, I did add one small thing. I think I'm going to create a web page, not a website, but just a page for the Next Door Book Club, my book club, just to kind of keep track of what we read, kind of keep track of, when maybe what we think about. Maybe I'll do it in the form of a blog. I'm not exactly sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it might be kind of a nice addition that people usually don't do for book clubs. It would be interesting to look back maybe, 2, 3, 4 years from now, if we're still doing it, to see what we've looked at and, what we thought about it. So that's something I'm going to possibly do in the future.
Before I get into my running list of future things to do, I did start a new book this week reading. So I have the one that I got off of Libby to listen to, the J.K. Rowling. I don't remember the pen name, Robert something.
Robert Galbraith.
Galbraith, yeah, I have that to listen to. I listened to a little bit of it. I haven't got very far with it. I was way behind on podcasts last week, so I spent a lot of time listening, getting caught up with podcasts, so I haven't listened to much of it. But I did start a new book. And it's the main reason I start reading books nowadays is because the 372 pages guys are picking a new book to read that's bad. So like I read bad books now. That's pretty much what I do. So they had their podcast earlier this week of what book they were starting next, and they were talking about how a lot of the listeners, and this is where I fit in, like the books that they started with, which was what's it called, Ready Player One. They don't like the book. I like the plot, that it was written terribly, but I like the plot. But they like the type of book, the airplane, paperback. You find it in an airport. You see it at a garage sale. That Tech War. They did a couple of those. Shatner books and some of the other ones. So they decided to do one of those instead of like the ones that you can't find anywhere, which they've read a lot of those too because they're so bad. But this one is written by someone I'm sure you'll know this name. It's Colleen Hoover.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, I mentioned that to my sister. I mentioned it to people at the book club. Do you know who this is? And they, oh yeah, it ends with us. It starts with us. Those are pretty popular. But the 372 pages guy, they don't do that. They went, no. Let's find her worst rated book, and we'll read that one. So that book is called, I have it right here. It is called Ugly Love. It has 158,000 ratings, which is unbelievable. Right. And I read the first chapter earlier this week, and it seems like your typical romance type of book. And I'm like, oh, I'll read. So I read the first chapter. It was fine. I didn't see anything outrageous with it. But then chapter 2 was okay. If chapter 1 was like Susan, I don't remember the character's name, Susan. Well, chapter 2 was like Pablo 6 months or 6 years earlier. And I was like, whoa, what are we doing here? We're time jumping. We're character jumping. I was so confused, and I just stopped reading. I'll go back to it. But I've gotten one chapter in so far, and I don't see anything wrong with it at the moment. I feel like she's one of those authors that people particularly don't care for, but they still want to read her books every time. That's what seems to happen.
Of that 158,000 reviews, what was the star rating?
I'm clicking on it now. It's 4.6. I thought they said it was 3.1. Unless, am I looking
this is for Ugly Love, or were you looking at the...
This is for Ugly Love, yeah. Maybe it was the Kindle version. Let me see. No, 4.6. Well, yeah, I thought they said it was 3.1, but okay.
Yeah, the reviews pass over now. They're not different for the hardcovers or the Kindles,
okay.
Yeah, no, that's not bad at all. People who like Colleen Hoover really like her. People who don't like her really don't like her.
Okay.
That's what I've at least read. The other thing I want to mention is that, the Robert Galbraith pseudonym for J.K. Rowling, I thought I got confused, and I thought it was hilarious when I first realized that because I saw the book Cormoran Strike come out when it first came out. I saw it was written by Robert Galbraith, and I thought to myself, man, he must be at least 100 years old now, because Robert Galbraith is a really famous economist.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
From the UK.
Right.
And when I found out that J.K. Rowling was using that as a pseudonym, I was wondering, did she do that on purpose because she knew people would pick up a book written by him, or what?
Yeah, that's like clickbait. That's good job on you, J.K., for coming up with a clickbait author name.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. It would be like me, or anybody like writing a novel and then having it written by Obama or something.
Yeah. No, we'll do what she did. We'll write our novel that we're going to write together. We'll write it under Dave Ramsey.
There you go.
He's an economist, right? I guess you would call him. Yeah. I don't know if you call him an economist or not, but that was the name I thought of.
More of a self-help kind of guy. Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. All right, so my running list of future things to do. Nothing changed here. I have book covers I'm trying to think about what to do with, and then we have my Instagram style ad and my drawings for each book. That's down the road for all of those things. In terms of my addicted to, I'm back to the Labors of Hercule podcast. I'm still behind, but I'm not that far behind. They only release episodes once every 2 weeks, and so it's not too hard to get up to date if you're listening to a few weeks. Well, I listened to like 4 or 5 of them this week, and what's sad about it is they're already in like series 7. They don't have very many episodes left. Mm-hmm. And so by the time I do catch up, which will probably be soon, it'll be like, okay, now we're done. Or it'll be like, okay, we have 3 left and I have to wait 2 weeks between each one. So, and they're saying the same thing. Like, what do we do when we're done? They're having so much fun together. They're like, what do we do? So they started doing a TV show called Jonathan Creek, which I watched part of the first episode a couple weeks ago. And I just stopped at one point because that's what I do when I watch TV and movies now. I'll go back to it, but and they're doing other stuff. I joined their Patreon, which it's $5 a month. I thought they have so much bonus stuff where they're just reading Agatha Christie short stories. And they're doing all these other things that they're doing. So I'll use that to get caught up also. So there's a lot to do with them. But that was kind of this week. A lot of Labors of Hercule stuff for me.
I watched the Jonathan Creek series all the way through, however many seasons it was. I kind of liked it. I liked the lead actor. I think his name is, I want to take a wild guess, Alan Davies is I think his name. I just like his kind of laconic style and stuff.
I think
really
we might
good.
have talked about this last week, in fact, because we were talking about coupling. And I talked about the woman who ends up playing his wife later in the show was actually a regular on Coupling. A great British show that I really enjoyed for about 3 seasons, and then after that I didn't care anymore.
The other thing I want to mention is, and I don't know, maybe I mentioned this last week as well, because I know you've mentioned Labors of Hercules, but I did run across a new show on BritBox with David Suchet in it.
I watched the first one on Friday.
Oh, did you? Okay, yeah. They've been advertising it quite a bit, and I tell you what, I can't get used to the fact that he's not in the Poirot character.
Well, he gets into it so easily, though.
That's true.
They said in the Labors of Hercule podcast, one of the things he does, and I apologize for the graphic nature of this, and I don't know if this is true or not, but one of the things he did to learn how to walk like Poirot is he put a pound coin up his butt, and then the goal was to keep it up there as he walked. And so that's like a running joke with them on that show, which is kind of funny.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. I really like David Suchet. Like, I could just listen to him talk for hours. Like, he's so interesting, and there's something about the way he talks. I wonder if he's ever narrated books, because I don't care what the genre is. I would listen to it.
He is a convert to Christianity late in his life. I think maybe even after he was known as Poirot primarily, and because of his voice acting skills and that, somebody asked him to do an audio of the entire Bible.
The Bible, yeah.
And it is really, really good. My wife really likes it. It's the best one she's ever had. She's listened to.
It's just the way he reads. It's the way he talks. Just his normal speaking voice is so good.
Right. Yeah. Well, my addicted to this past week, and it probably wasn't obvious from what I talked about the week, is I kind of fell into a round of self-flagellation over my really slow progress in editing this romance novel. I did start coming out of the funk yesterday, but I'm really glad I have the gym now to go back to on Tuesday, not Monday, because almost all my blue periods, when I fall into these funks, it's when I'm not exercising. I really haven't been exercising much for a year. So it'll be good to get back to it and get away from it. Because I don't like to beat myself up over not doing stuff. And so that'll be good.
Yeah. All right. Coming up for me this week, it's a little bit of a different week for me in terms of the days that I'm doing stuff. I should get 6 writing sessions in. Tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day, and I normally would go into the office on Monday, but there's a whole bunch of roads closed in Cleveland. Not the roads around my office. Those are open, but my guess is all the roads downtown that are like 2 blocks over that are closed is going to push everybody out toward us. Parking is going to be outrageous. I can't wait to look tomorrow morning at 6:30 at my parking app to see what it costs to park in the normal place that I park. It's $9 daily. I assume it's going to be $30 to $50 because there's a parade in downtown Cleveland at some point. So I will be staying home tomorrow. I will be going to the library at lunch. I'll continue working on chapter 18. If I do go to the library at lunch, that would give me 7 writing sessions for the week. So we'll see if that happens. I really actually would like to do that. Tuesday, go ahead.
Do they have like street parties in addition to the parade, or what?
I haven't seen anything like that, but I also haven't really looked that hard. I just know there's a parade.
I get the I got this vision in my head of it being like Bourbon Street at midnight, and just people all over the place, just half drunk, fully drunk, and just stumbling all over.
I don't think you want to be downtown Cleveland at midnight. I don't know if that's a good idea.
Maybe not.
Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm in the office. I will write at lunch both days. Thursday, I took the entire day off work. Actually, I haven't submitted it yet, but my buddy was fishing through his wallet last week and found 2 casino winners from the Rivers Casino in Pittsburgh last year on March Madness, and he realized he has to cash them in by Thursday midnight, or they're 365 days. They're no good anymore. They're like $80 worth of winners. So he asked me to take a ride down there. I told him yes, but I wanted to write in the morning. So he's going to work a half a day. I'm going to go right in the morning at Chick-fil-A. Then he's going to meet me there. And we're going to drive over to Rivers in the afternoon, where I'm going to probably play slot machines for like 20 minutes and then be bored out of my mind for an hour and a half while he's playing poker. And I'm going to have to find a place to sit during March Madness, which I don't know how easy that's going to be. I have no idea what's going to happen at this thing. I feel like I'm going to be bored out of my mind. I'm going to end up going to the car and just sitting there with my laptop or something. I don't know if I can take my laptop into the casino or not, but
don't they have a sports book at the casino where you can watch the games? Yeah, but it's
opening day of March Madness. It's going to be packed.
Oh, I see.
We went 2 years ago, and he went last year, and you actually have to reserve a table, and it's like $10 per person.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, the sports book. So I'm hoping to find a place at the bar, and I'm not a bar person. So who knows? I'll try to find somewhere to sit, or I'll just play slot machines for 2 hours and drain my bank account. You never know.
Yeah.
So that's Thursday, and then when I'll be home by like 4:30 because he's got to be back in town by 4 to pick up his son from school. So we'll be back. We'll get there at like 1:30. We'll be back by 3:30, 4 o'clock. We won't be there long. Friday, I'm back in the office. This is something I don't do very often, is going to the office on Friday. I actually kind of wanted to take a half a day on this Friday and do some writing in the afternoon, but our work from home rules are really silly, where if I would have taken a half a day on Friday, I would have had to go into the office tomorrow, because you can't take vacation days to avoid going into the office. So if I take a vacation day on a Thursday and half of Friday, I have to go in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's silly, but that's how it is. So I'm going to work all day in the office on Friday. Basically just watching the clock the whole time because it's Friday. But I will write at lunch, and Saturday I'll do Chick-fil-A in the morning. I'll do my errands. I'll play my football game, all the stuff that I do. And then Sunday I will go to Panera in the morning. I'll get groceries and play my football game. Again, all the same stuff I do. My goal for the week, and I'm going to do the math again, it is 4 lunchtime writing sessions. That's 1,000 words each. So that's 4,000. And then potentially 3, right? Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. So 3. So that number is actually wrong. So it's 4. Oh, no. It's 3. I'm not counting tomorrow. So it's 3,000 plus 4,500. So 7,500 words is my goal for the week. That should finish the first draft, but I'm not going to make it my goal to finish the first draft. I'm going to make it my goal to write 7,500 words and just see where it takes me. That's 6.5 chapters. That's like 1,200 words per chapter. I tend to do a little bit more than that. So I feel like by the end of the week, I'll have 1 or 2 chapters left to go. But 7,500 words will be the goal for the week.
I was ruminating here on the fact that you said you probably don't want to be downtown Cleveland at midnight. And I thought, well, you really don't want to be on Bourbon Street at midnight, but there's tens of thousands of people that do that. And then it reminded me when I first moved down here, I don't know if I ever told you the story or not, but we moved down here in 1991, and my sister and my wife's girlfriend helped us move because we were driving cars and driving a moving van and all that. And so as a reward, we took them down to New Orleans, to Bourbon Street. We had a hotel like a quarter of a block off of Bourbon Street. And someplace around midnight, we were up in the hotel. It had a little balcony on it. We were out in the balcony, I think, probably drinking beers or something. And we hear these gunshots.
Oh, jeez.
And before I could turn around, my sister and my wife's girlfriend were out the door down the stairs and we're running towards the gunshots.
Oh my!
Because that's just the kind of people they are.
I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
then suddenly there were cops all over the place. And
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So stay out of there too. Good to know.
Yeah.
Stay out of there.
Well, my coming week, Monday, tomorrow, I have the day off since I work today, and there's like 100 things I need to do outside, not the least of which is to mix up some organic insecticide, which is basically neem oil, as the bugs have started multiplying here, and I don't want them to get after my crops after I've spent so much time putting them in. So I'll be doing some planting. I'll be doing some spraying, doing some weeding here and there. So I'll probably just waste my whole day outside. It's supposed to be a beautiful day in the mid 60s and sunny. So it'll be nice. Tuesday, I'll be working, but it'll still be a fun day as it'll be my first workout at the gym. Cross my fingers in quite a long time. I'm going to have to do a test run of some kind before I start work at noon. Maybe I'll go in like maybe an hour or so early just to see how much I can fit into in an hour. Because that's what I normally have for lunch. Now, there's not going to be much travel time, like 5 minutes there and back. But I got to see, if I work up a sweat, I'll have to take a shower. So I'm not going to probably get much more than a half hour to 40 minutes in of actual exercise time. But it's better than zero, which is what I'm doing right now. I don't get home on Tuesdays until 9:30, so I may do a little bit of reading before bedtime if I still have some of this glamour book to read. Wednesday, other than working and editing, I'll hit the gym again. My plan right now is to do 4 days a week when I actually can and I'm healthy enough. That's on average, that's the number of weekdays I'm at the office or at the library. You can tell I've transitioned in this job from really, being gung-ho about it and thinking about all the good I'm doing at the library. I'm now starting to call it the office.
Yeah, nice.
I just noticed that in the last week I've started doing that. In the evening, I'll probably be planting on Wednesday when I get home. There's about an hour of daylight right now here. We've gained about 50 minutes or so. Not only the change in daylight savings time, but also just the increasing length of days. So I'll be able to get some of the stuff planted. We're not supposed to have any cold days out beyond tomorrow morning. It's going to be like 40 or something. So I've got a bunch of stuff I need to put out in the garden. Thursday, again at work, I'll be doing some tech support for anyone that wants to drop in during the afternoon. And if no one does, I'm just going to sit in the back there and keep on editing. And Friday through Sunday this coming weekend, I have days off.
Nice.
So I'm going to try hard to do a mix of editing and working in the garden. I think I'm going to try to do it. So I'll probably get up early like I'm normally going to work and just get right to editing. Because once I get out into the garden, I often don't get back to writing. And I'm going to set the lofty goal of getting 10 chapters edited. That can only happen if I actually do work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on some editing. So keep your fingers crossed. I'll actually do that. And the one thing I wanted to share, which I thought was really funny, I've been listening to that Marina Hine and Richard Osman podcast. And they had an episode that basically talked about where do entertainment people, especially the really big people, where do they get all that money? Because if you're like Taylor Swift and you're a billionaire, you don't make $1 billion off of your music. If you're Kim Kardashian and the Kardashians, you don't make $1 billion off of the goofy TV programs that you do. If you're
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, if you're Britney Spears, you don't make $1 billion, you don't make millions, hundreds of millions of dollars and be able to live the lifestyle you still live when you haven't produced any music or anything in the last 15 years or whatever. And it all has to do with their cosmetic lines.
Yep.
And it was amazing. They were actually talking numbers. They had numbers. For example, Beyonce, off of her she has something called Glow, I think, a perfume or something called Glow. That alone brings in $1 billion year in, year out.
No.
Now that's gross. So she
it's absolutely gross.
Yeah, she probably only gets a part of that, a fraction, some percentage of that. But that's how these people get to be so wealthy. It really has nothing to do with the creative stuff there. Well, it has something to do, obviously, because if you're Taylor Swift, you're selling out, stadiums and everything.
You're very creative,
and and people are buying your music and all. But a lot of it, Taylor Swift apparently has 10 different scents out there, or did at one time. She's pulled them all off the market for reasons I wasn't exactly sure why, but she's pulled that all off the market. But what I started to think, that's what authors need to do. They need to develop their own scents, their own colognes and stuff to peddle to people. If you're like a Dan Brown, who's coming out with a new book real soon. You could have a cologne that smells like old leather-bound copies in Trinity Library in Ireland or something like that. And I bet people, I would probably buy it just to try it.
And what do you think of Bacon by Jerry Evanoff?
Oh yeah. I would. I'm surprised somebody hasn't done Bacon already.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Kevin Bacon hasn't done Bacon.
There you go. That's trademark right there.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, for mine. So I didn't have anything on here, but we talked earlier about the romance that I was playing around with last night with ChatGPT. So let me. I'm a little embarrassed about this, so I'm gonna preface that by just saying that this is a bit embarrassing. But I was watching last night. I was watching on YouTube, like the top 100 videos of 1989 or the top 50 songs of 1988, whatever it was. And there were a lot of Debbie Gibson songs in there. Okay. I love Debbie Gibson. Debbie Gibson is like my first celebrity crush, right? First one. Love Debbie. And to this day, I still do. I followed her on Instagram for a long time. Not so much anymore, but
I know the name, I know the name, but I have no idea who she is.
I hit the name. I hit the music. I hit my AirPod again, and the music's playing it. You probably can't hear it.
No, okay.
Hold on. It's almost over.
Okay.
I hear drums. Dun, 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 dun. We'll get back to Debbie Gibson in a minute. Okay. All right, so we're back. All right, so you guys didn't hear that, but in my ear, I heard the intro again. So I thought last night, like, I wanted to get ChatGPT out and just do some plotting. So I thought, what if I, as a 50-year-old person, was sitting here on my couch, let's say, and the character I created is divorced with like a 9-year-old daughter. That's your main character, based on another friend of mine. And I thought, what if that person was like, man, when I was a kid, when I was like 17, I really loved her. And I really, really missed the 80s. How cool would it be to go back to the 80s and then go on a quest to find Debbie Gibson to tell her that you love her? And then it turned into, and here's what let's see, what do we do here? So, ChatGPT loves everything. It asked me what I wanted to talk about. It asked me for tone and genre, time travel mechanics, love story angle, and the 80s settings. And I said, I would love it if you bump into other actors or actresses or musicians along the way. You bump into Michael J. Fox. You bump into, I don't know, whoever back to John Candy.
Before you go any further,
yeah.
I know what it would turn into. It would turn into a jail sentence is what it would turn into.
Well, no, that's why I made him 17.
Oh.
That's why, because I think she's like 2 years older than me. So I would actually be the jail sentence for her, not so much me. So, but I didn't want this character to be me, just like in every other book that I write where the character turns out to be me. And so I basically said, here's the premise. A man feeling stuck in life, longing for his youthful dreams, stumbles upon, this is what ChatGPT gave me after I told her everything that I wanted. Feeling stuck in life and longing for his youthful dreams, stumbles upon a way to travel back to 1989. Armed with his knowledge of the future, he sets out to track down his teenage crush. And then it said a fictionalized pop star or Debbie Gibson. I had to correct it. No. Debbie Gibson. This is not a fictional thing. This is literally Debbie Gibson. I mean, come on, Electric Youth, one of the best songs ever. Come on. But along the way, through a series, okay, here's where we get into the cliches. Through a series of comic misadventures, pop culture run-ins, and classic 80s teen movie moments, he discovers that love, destiny, and happiness aren't exactly what he thought they'd be. That is so cliche. But, I imagine in the movie poster, the MC, the main character, and Debbie Gibson back to back, making whatever face they make, like and then he discovered it wasn't what it was always meant to be. Whatever.
Well, what he discovered, and when I pulled up her picture on Wikipedia just to see who she was, what he discovered is that she was a Xanax and Tylenol PM addict during all those years.
Oh, yeah. Really? Whatever. Whatever helps you sleep, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm still a huge fan. And then let's see. And then it gave me a working title called "Lost in Your Eyes and Time" because her song, one of her big songs, was called "Lost in Your Eyes." And then I started getting into the acts and stuff. So what it turned into was he needs a mentor figure. And in the end, it wouldn't make sense for him to like all of a sudden just end up with Debbie Gibson. That's not going to happen. But what he does is he ends up with the nerdy girl from high school who he didn't really look at back then. She goes along with him on the quest, and over time, bam, he grows to her. but we needed a good ending. So we need like a false ending or a deep, darkest moment type of ending. So he realizes that while he's on the date with Debbie Gibson, that it's not going to work with her. And in fact, it's the nerdy girl that he wants. He goes looking for her. She's gone. And he zapped back in the future. Now he's in a restaurant or whatever, a library, whatever, hanging out with his daughter. And who walks in? The nerdy girl. And that's the end of that's where it ends. Boom, right there. And you just assume as the reader, okay, it works out. That's kind of where I ended up with this story. So. Okay. And I have a whole bunch more. I have 27 chapters plotted here. So
that's cool. I could write that.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. It makes me so happy. Anytime I can think of the 80s, I'm just so happy. So anyway, that is the podcast for this week. Do you have anything else?
No.
All right. If you want to get in touch with me, if you want to tell me how great my romance story is, Jerry at jerryevanoff.com. The website is jerryevanoff.com. We are on Patreon. We are on YouTube. We are on all your favorite podcaster apps. Just search New Author Podcast and you'll find us.
And you can email me at rich@richkacy.com, and I can be found on Blue Sky at Kacy himself.
Thanks, everyone, for watching, listening. We'll talk to y'all next week.
Yep. Have a great week.